Emily from the Genetics Society, and we're here in Einstein's garden at the Green Man Festival 2019, and we're basically here celebrating everything genetics as part of our centenary celebrations, and we're on a mission to planet G3N3, and we're basically explaining everything from gene editing to basic principles of genetics. So it's a great way to get kids involved in terms of what DNA is, what genes are, and how scientists now have the ability to change DNA and change the properties that it encodes for and biological traits. So we're the genetics genies, and we give 3 traits possible that kids can choose. So from real biological examples of what traits are, so from human populations such as the deep dive gene and also the Sherpa genes, from the abilities to really live and hold your breath underwater for long periods of time and also at high altitudes as well. And we also have the opportunity to be resistant to freezing storms. So for instance, no pain genes, which are real examples of biological disease genes such as analgesia. And we also have things like antifreeze proteins from Arctic fish. So it's about exploiting the biology that's already out there in the natural world and bringing it to kids in a really tangible way, and something in a quite creative kind of space environment as well. And people go away with their own stamps, and then they get to build the genes in bracelets or key rings. And it's a really nice way to explain what genes are made of, and explaining what the double helix is, and also how scientists now have the potential to really change the DNA. And then it's quite nice to engage kids and adults in some of the more ethical questions centered around genetics and gene editing. So we have lots of questions such as, how do you feel about gene editing in the context of editing for cosmetic purposes? So everything from having edits for cleft palates to just wanting aesthetically to look prettier, for instance. And we have a whole different host of opinions on this, and we're gathering a bit of citizen science data to see how people really feel about gene editing in different contexts. So we also question them about curing different genetic diseases, and in what context do they think gene editing should be involved in society and how integrated it should be, and also about its role in food security as well. So in the wake of a changing climate and global challenges, we need to be able to combat these kinds of things. So how do we go about using gene editing to secure the food for populations all around the world? So we're all about kind of getting rid of rumours and misspelling lots of things that people think about the miscommunication of genetic engineering, and making it much more tangible, and it's a much more conversational way to approach these kind of big challenges in today's world. It's really important that societies like the Genetics Society engage with the public and take big issues, whether it's gene editing or questions about, malaria or food security, to these kinds of festivals, because a lot of science is obviously publicly funded. So as a scientist, I do feel a responsibility to communicate my science to the public, whether that's the basic underpinnings of science and communicating those aspects, or more nuanced technologies and technological challenges, so things like CRISPR-Cas systems, and more often how it's used. So people tend not to have problems with the technology per se, but how these things are then used in society, and communicating that with policymakers in terms of educating people to the best of their abilities in order to make informed choices about things that they have in their everyday household, but also about how they feel about certain new policies, and integrating that in their everyday lives. So making them much more aware of science, whether it's basic or much more recent findings, and how they're used in today's world. So the nice thing about coming to the Green Man Festival is that people who wouldn't necessarily always be engaged with science festivals or science communication are really exposed to it here. So they have the option to bring their kids and really learn about basic science. So people that haven't done science since school can come and learn about CRISPR-Cas systems, which is just a wonderful opportunity to educate people at all levels, really. So everyone, whether they're kids or adults, go away with learning a little bit more about genetics.